School Board, March 1st, 2016, now in call order. And the first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'd like to make a motion before he does that. Could we move to vote?
Let's go ahead and get a second on this, and then we'll have some discussion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Now, any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to move to separate the termination that's on there on a separate vote.
It already is.
It's on a separate vote.
Any other? Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Kolmetz?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous. First item on the agenda now, here in the public, I've got two people who would like to speak to us this evening. Ms. Stevenson, you can podium, state your name and your address.
I'm Susan Stevenson, live at 1893 North Holmes Creek Road. I am here to remind you once again that the school board remains in breach of the teacher's contract. In August, you voted 4-1 to force me to leave my job that I held for 28 years when you involuntarily transferred me to GAP. At that time, you were required by the contract to give me the reason in writing for the transfer. To my knowledge, you have never even discussed the reason, at least not in the sunshine, and you certainly have not given me an explanation in writing. Surely, in the last 7 months, you have had time to formulate a reason. When can I expect this? Never? You will remain in breach of contract. Prior to that, in July, I gave you a whistleblower complaint. What did you do with that? Throw it in the trash? You had an obligation to refrain from any further adverse actions against me. Yet 4 of you still retaliated with that involuntary transfer. What you did at the behest of the superintendent was illegal. Only Debbie Kolmetz has remained steadfast in conducting school board business honestly, fairly, and ethically. Your obligation is not solely to the superintendent, but also to the students, the teachers, parents, and the taxpayers of this county. There is no integrity in school and district leaders who continually make decisions which are contrary to the teacher's contract, to your own school board policies, and to state laws. We desperately need integrity and ethics restored in our school system. Thank you.
Next person to speak is Joey Gillis. Come to the state, podium, state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Jolie Gillis. I'm at 1547 Spears Road in Westville. I'm speaking today because I understand that there's coming before this board a decision to terminate my sister Sherry Varney. And I can safely say over the last 25 plus years that I am the only person who has been in every classroom that she has taught in, both personally to help her or professionally. I know that my sister is often misunderstood. She does have a mild form of autism, and there is no way medication to cure that, and there is no growing out of that, but there is coping with that, and the way she has learned to cope is to try 3 times harder. Even though she has an IQ of 100, which is absolutely average, as a child I would watch her stay up far past my bedtime studying and practicing and studying so that she was valedictorian of her class in Holmes County School. I figured it up. She has spent over 40 years either as a student or a teacher within Holmes County Schools. Because of that, I feel that she is due process. I have seen her work so hard, put in thousands of dollars. I personally have been there hours and hours. I have seen her work so hard that her administration has told her, if you're still working at midnight, go home. The way she has coped is by trying so much harder. And her heart has been especially drawn to those students who everybody else has lost faith in, those underdogs. She has tried to reach out as a reading instructor. And then going, even after she had been in the school system almost 20 years, deciding to go back to specialize, to help other children who also dealt with more severe forms of autism. I feel, or I fear, that my sister may be railroaded. Legally, she is innocent. However, in the media, over Facebook, her mugshot has been shared over 1,000 times. And yet, she has not given her official statement to law enforcement yet. I do not understand why at this time termination would be considered, because if this board does condemn her guilty while legally innocent, the community will condemn her guilty now and forevermore. Your decision today affects her fate forever, and it will affect our fate as a family. My daughter also goes to a Holmes County school district, and she is losing faith in her school. She has always loved school. She has lost friends, and she has to go to school day to day in and day out. And as a mother and as a sister, I also have to watch this and deal with this. This affects not only us personally, but it affects every teacher. Accusations can happen to anyone, and I pray that if anyone here were ever to be accused, that the Holmes County School District would not condemn them guilty, but would allow the justice system to make that decision. I do not ask for you to find her innocent or guilty. I'm asking for you to recognize her 40 years of diligent work as a student and as a teacher within the school system. There has never been a job that she has not taken on, whether it be to fill in for PT, whether it be fill in for car rider, whether it be fill in for this class or do reading instructor. But I can tell you what, I have walked down the hallways with her, and I've walked down and I have seen her. Those kids that look forlorn, she especially reaches out to and knows them by name. How are you doing, so-and-so? That's a very nice smile you have on today. I hope you have a good day. She herself has always felt different. She herself can't be here tonight and speak on her own behalf because she is not capable of dealing with the pressure of this kind of environment. Honestly, I would rather be home myself, and I wish this was not even an issue. I just please ask that you consider her 40 years within the school system and her dedication to the students. I mean, you guys don't know that she spent an entire summer teaching a 5-year-old how to speak and write English before they started kindergarten. You don't know of all the free tutoring she's given students and of all the parents she's gone to their home because they asked for help. I just ask that you consider that, because I know, and I've seen her in action, and I know her love for her children that she has worked with. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the cards I have for people that wanted to speak this evening. Our next item on the agenda is overnight out-of-state trips.
I've got one trip, Bethlehem, March 24th, 25th, if they go into a state land judging contest, and they don't really know where it's at just yet, haven't been announced. And there's 4 of my people to approve that trip.
Superintendent's recommendation, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the trip.
Can I second that motion?
Motion and second to approve the superintendent's recommendation for out-of-state trips. Have any questions or concerns? Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, it's unanimous. Next item is consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda. I hear a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Approve the consent agenda. Have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have some questions, Mr. Chairman. The finance lady, she's not here.
She'll be here for the morning meetings once a month, so she'll be here in 2 weeks. She's gonna put this in your packet both times, and she'll be here to actually talk in detail about it in the morning meetings.
Okay. I have a question on the food service. The free lunches, that was gonna cost, I mean, it was only gonna pay for about 85% of what the lunches are, correct?
Well, what it means the 85% of the lunches eaten are reimbursed at the free rate from the federal government, and 15% are reimbursed at the charged rate. So 85% of the lunches that we bill to the federal government are paid at the free rate. That's what that means.
So this is gonna be 100% free, the lunch program. It's not gonna be it's gonna be 100%, no money out of our budget to pay for the free lunches.
Well, I mean, it's gonna work like it always has. We still have to pay our employees and the food, those kind of things. We get to reimburse the U.S. Department of Agriculture for all the lunches. So instead of people paying for them, the USDA is gonna pay for them. So it'll operate the exact same way it always has. It's just right now we're showing a profit of about $40,000 we were the other day. So the program will work exactly like it always has. It's just rather than individual students paying for their lunch, and we'll bill the U.S. Department of Agriculture for Tallahassee.
I don't understand how we can get a profit from free lunches.
Well, it's not that we get a profit, it's just that we are, if you look at the cost, personnel cost, food cost, things we have to purchase for lunch, and then you look at what we charge and get reimbursed for, we're showing a plus, which is what you want.
Isn't part of that because we got more
Yeah,
participation?
we have, well, let's say, up to the first semester, we had an additional 30,000 meals served over last year. That's the big part of it right there. More children are eating, especially the high school, middle school levels than they were before.
On the list which shows all the expenditures, there's several different substitutes. There's like an ESE column, there's a bus driver, and it seems redundant in some of these places. It shows quite a bit in substitute. Can you elaborate on that? Because here's one item, it says 1,018,000 on year-to-date on the substitute under administration. And then further down, it's got more substitutes under bus and under operation of the plant, it has substitutes. What would that be?
Well, if we hire a sub in the ESC program, that comes out of one pot of money, ESC's money. A regular sub comes out of general budget. A bus sub would come out of the transportation budget. A lunchroom sub comes out of the foods budget. They come out of different budgets, the subs and different things.
But what would the operation of the plant be for substitute? It's on, there's no page.
That's maintenance, but if you look at that under, it's like $286, I'm not sure. I have to give a Kelly check, I'm not sure what that was.
I'd like for her to number these pages if she could, because I can't tell you where to go, but it says 1,597,000 under the operation of the plant year-to-date of substitutes. It's on the back of page 4, well,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
on number 5.
Page 5.
The printout,
Of
or not
the,
count the first two pages?
The 1,043,000 you're talking about? That, in the double lines?
No, I'm talking about, it's number 750 is the code. It's under 7,900 operation of plant.
The substitutes year-to-date, there are 17,000.
Right.
The total, that's all of those
That's
above
all of them.
figures together.
Not just that.
That's not, isn't that high? I mean, how does that compare to previous years?
I'm not sure. I have to go look it up.
So we paid $253,000 so far this year on substitutes.
No, that's, we only paid $603 on substitutes.
So you're looking at, here's
So
the
we only paid 17,000 for substitutes, right? That's the total for all that stuff.
That one. And
Okay.
then this right here is a total of all of those.
Okay, so 17,547
Yeah, not one.
is what we paid. How does that compare, do you know?
I had to check with Ms. Levens and see, I'm sure.
There was one other item, textbooks. It said that we had paid, it was 150-something thousand for textbooks. Did we order that many textbooks this year?
I'm sure because in the past, we have done as much as $250,000 textbooks. So we actually ordered less this year than we have in the past. Pretty much as our textbooks go down, our copies go up, so that's what's happening to us.
And as far as the financial status, did she share with you, are we doing well, or?
Right now, if you look, we're 1.7 million ahead of, we're about $1 million ahead of where we were last year. The yellow line is this current year. That back, that first page.
And we really had a jump in this past month, for January. So maybe she, so maybe she can allude to that when she,
That could be the tax, some of the tax, property tax coming in this month, it's just,
yeah.
things some different times.
Thank you, that's all the questions I have.
Any other questions? Take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Kolmetz?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Yes. Ms. Owen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous. Next item is personnel recommendations, Mr. Superintendent.
And you have split it into two. It's my recommendation we transfer Chris Peterson, A2, to Ponce de Leon High School, Ponce Elementary School. Accept the resignation from employment on Jody Richardson at BES effective February 26th. Pam Cameron, Superintendent Secretary, effective May 31st. Hire the following for the Check and Connect Coordinators and Mentors grant. Bethlehem High School Coordinator Lisa Matthews, Mentors Alicia Brown. They encourage Jennifer Staples, Sheila Richards, Katie Hayford, Kathy Sumner, Nikki Ellenberg. Bonnie Middle School Coordinator Anna Bennett, Mentors Cynthia Goodson. Holmes County High School Coordinator Sandra Bell, Mentors Emily Rome, Zach Marks, Mandy Board, Matt Tate. Ponce High School Coordinator Amy Summer Alford. Mentors Brian Morgan, Brittany Brown, Chris Steverson, Heather Bailey, Crystal Pravat, Larry Swift. And Palm Springs Mentor Lowell Hudson. I recommend approve.
Superintendent's recommendation, pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's recommendation. Got any questions?
We're voting on the next one separately, right?
Yes. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Kolmetz?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
chair votes yes, unanimous.
Okay, second part, I recommend we terminate the employment of Sherry Varney, teacher, Boston Elementary School, effective March 1st, 2016.
Heard the superintendent's recommendation, pleasure of the board.
Prior to a vote, the board would be willing to hear from me. My name's Clay Atkinson, for the record, attorney for Sherry Varney.
No, sir, not right now. We're in the middle of a motion here.
Clay, the time to speak was at the open part of the meeting today.
Per statute, I believe, under the current sunshine law, that the public's allowed to speak before action on specific matters taken. I'm certainly welcome to hear the motion, but prior to the actual vote, I would request a chance to be heard.
I think that it was noticed as an agenda item. You had the opportunity to speak like everybody else before it occurred. I do think I'll be able to speak with you afterwards. We'll make sure all her rights are effectuated as we discussed under 112.33.6A today.
We do, and for the record, though, I do have some concerns about the notice that was provided to her, specifically referencing certain provisions that are no longer subject to termination under Florida statute. And I'll defer to the board and the board attorney at this point.
Pleasure of the board.
I move we approve the termination of employment of Sherry Varney.
Second. A motion second to approve the superintendent's recommendation. Mr. Justice?
Wait,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have any discussion?
Yeah. So, any discussion? Questions?
Yeah, I have some questions. Has this teacher admitted guilt to any of this?
Madam, are you speaking criminal guilt, or what sort of guilt are you speaking of? As far as I know, there's a criminal matter open. The action that the board's taking tonight is outside the scope of any criminal action that's pending with the teacher. What you're doing tonight is subject to Florida Statute 112.33, which this board is making, if it votes to terminate, would be making a determination of just cause to terminate under that statute. And that's what you're doing here tonight.
Well, I'd just like to say that terminating this teacher, it concerns me. I'm not an attorney. I don't know very much about legal lawsuits, but I do know that in the past, things like this has happened in Holmes County. And if a person is fired without due process, they can come back on the school board and file a lawsuit on us. And the due process, I don't know that much about it, but I know it forbids condemnation without a hearing. And I don't think she's had a hearing. And it's not our job to act as judges. What we're doing, if we go along with this recommendation, is just, we're not a judge. It's not our place to say if she's guilty or innocent. And we don't know the whole story. I don't know hardly anything about the incident. And why are we rushing into terminating her when she hasn't even had her hearing? As far as I'm concerned, a person is innocent until proven guilty, and if she's found innocent, it can be like a case down in Panama City where a doctor was accused of doing something, and when he went to the hearing, he was innocent, and then he sued. And this is what's going to happen to us if something similar could happen to us. If she's found innocent, and that she could sue us. And y'all need to think about this. There's more than one side to a story. And like I say, it has happened in Holmes County before, and that's taxpayer money that is being paid if we are sued. And we need to know that just cause exists prior to taking action, and our lawyer sent me something here, an opinion of a judge, and it says we should perform an evaluation of whether just cause exists to support the recommendation. And it says here, there is no statutory presumption of acceptance of the superintendent's action absent a showing of good cause. Rather, the board must make the determination of whether there is just cause to formally terminate an employee. And it says the overall evaluation by the board as it relates to superintendent's recommendation is arguably broader for terminations than it is for appointment and should be treated as such. So I urge you to think about this before you make this vote.
If I may, Mr. Superintendent, just to make sure the record is clear. The way the statute is designed, the criminal matter is a completely separate matter, and that system will have to determine the guilt or innocence of any party. Interestingly, under the statute, you are tasked, is the board, the school board, under 11233, you are tasked, is the determiner of just cause. And so, while you may not desire to play that role, that is the role that by statute you are tasked to play. By statute, the superintendent's supposed to make the recommendation. In this instance, he's made his recommendation. And ultimately, as the school board, you are indeed, for instance, what we're doing here tonight, you are somewhat the judge. You are the finder of just cause. With respect to lawsuits, you are correct, Ms. Kolmetz, that the teacher in this instance will have the right under statute to appeal. And we will afford that teacher every right, just as we would any teacher, to appeal that, and we'll have that in accord with the statute. So there is a process that will play out, and certainly her attorney's familiar with that process, and so am I. So if this board does take action tonight to find just cause, I'm sure I'll be getting an appeal letter from her attorney, and we'll move forward in that route and dig it as we go. So you're right, there will be action probably after this vote is taken tonight. But by statute, this board is tasked to find just cause or to find not just cause, depending on what the board decides to do tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this. Why are we in such a hurry to get it done tonight? I mean, she's suspended, she's not in the classroom, so what's the big rush to terminate her? Why don't we wait until after her hearing to do it?
I don't have a clue where the hearing is.
As I discussed with Ms. Kolmetz earlier today, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm not sure where in the criminal process this matter is. I will tell you that process can be anywhere from 90 to 120 days, but depending on what her attorney does with speedy trial, to years. And so I'm not really familiar with what hearing Ms. Kolmetz is referring to. I know as far as this process goes, you do have the options under 11233, and one of those options is to find just cause.
Anybody else got any comment?
So I guess that motion died with the table.
Didn't have a second.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to do our own investigation, and find just cause.
Mr. Attorney, how does that process work? She's saying do our own investigation, fine.
I believe, Mr. Justice, an investigation has been performed by super and staff, and I believe based on that investigation, the recommendation of the super is that there's just cause to terminate. Ultimately, you are the finder of that under statute, so the ball's in your court right now, but I think an investigation actually has been done, and I think that's the basis of the super's recommendation.
Where is?
You have a right to look at the evidence from that investigation.
Mr. Attorney, I haven't seen any evidence. And I know the school board can have their own private investigation.
Any more comments? Take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Kolmetz?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. 4-1.
No evidence.
comments?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Superintendent?
I'd like to mention, we had teachers that were recognized with DOE this week. Being what they call high impact teachers, where they calculate their band effects over a period of years. And I'll read the list, and we'll actually have them here to really recognize them in person at some point. First one's Holmes County High School, Mandy Boyd. Second one's Ponce Elementary School, Craig English. Third one, Ponce High School, Stacy English. Fourth one, Bonneville Elementary School, Melissa Hudson. Fifth one, Bonneville Elementary School, Todd Jones. Sixth one, Bonneville Elementary School, Wendy McGowan. Seventh was actually in Varney now, but it was Anna Radcliffe, and it was based on last year at Bonneville Elementary School. The eighth one, Heather Rich, Bonneville Elementary School. Shelley Smith from Bethlehem. And finally, Valerie Wing from Bonneville Middle School. I congratulate all these folks. They work hard every day, and this recognition came from the Department of Education, and it's called High Impact Teacher Award. So I'll try to have all of them here, possibly the next morning meeting if it's not conflicted with that, with our FSA testing. That's what I'd say.
Mr. Justice?
Mr. Superintendent, Bethlehem was recognized as one of 2 schools in the state. So you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, Bethlehem was recognized for one of the largest increases in graduation rate from 14-15, and they right now, they're sitting at a 97% graduation rate, and that is phenomenal.
Congratulations to them,
Yes.
certainly.
And what is our overall graduation rate?
Right now, I went back and they just released this the last part of December. We are 80.5% graduation rate, which is 21st in the state out of 67 districts. We are substantially higher than all of our neighbors around us, and I'm very proud of that too. We ranked 21 out of 67 districts. That was just released about a month and a half ago. But that's for the 14-15 school year.
Mr. Kolmetz?
No comment.
Mr. Williams?
No.
I'd just like to say we got a really good report from our new construction. And on the report, I saw that we had a $375,000 in sales tax savings, which will be huge. And the only other thing, I'd just like to welcome our attorney.
Yes.
Excited about working with him.
I have no comment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. Kolmetz?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Yes. Ms. Owen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.